Welcome to Real Flicks Reviews. We're like a book club for people who hate reading. This week we're doing the movie Swordfish. I picked for the old guy. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, Brian Preston, and the old guy.
Hey, the old guy's here.
This week for Rob, I picked the Swordfish. So, who has the description of this lovely movie?
Secretive renegade counter-terrorist co-ops the world's greatest hacker who is trying to stay clean to steal billions in U.S. government dirty money.
Okay, let's try that again. That sucked.
Tough room.
Yeah, tough audience today,
Well,
huh?
since,
Secretive
put a little emotion into
I
it.
mean, get that radio announcer voice going. All right. Anyway, this was picked for me.
Should we turn this around and start over?
Nah,
Hey,
let's
fine.
just go down the crazy train.
Hey, yeah, let's just go down the crazy trail. Get more people watching.
Crazy
More people will watch if we're crazy than if we're normal.
So,
Guaranteed.
so I
Yeah,
picked.
anyway.
So I
Old guy
picked this.
starts.
So I picked this movie for the old guy. So, what'd you think about the movie, old
Hey,
guy?
Swordfish is been one of my favorites since I saw it. Timing for this movie couldn't have been worse, of course. It happened right before September 11th.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, and they actually stopped showing the movie in the theaters due to the one scene where there was the explosion of the tower, and
wow.
they pulled it. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I hadn't realized that until I started reading the notes over
sensitive.
it. But anyway, yeah, for that. So the timing was poor on the movie, but I really enjoyed the characters. I like John Travolta, surprisingly enough. No matter what anybody says with him, he's sure is quirky, but the guy can act.
He makes a great bad guy.
Halle Berry at that stage in her career
Battlefield
was
Earth.
as hot as a woman could get. And Hugh Jackman had to have a start somehow. And if I was to pick the one character that I think maybe was the not the best choice for the role was Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
He might have been hair old to play the position he played, but I understand he spent some time in prison and that whole story.
Not to mention a hair, too, in good shape.
Yeah.
No hacker is in that good of shape.
No, exactly.
But he was in.
Look at the guys.
The only
look at the guys that work for the
justification
government.
was he was in prison for 18 months and couldn't touch a computer. So maybe he had nothing better to do than get out of his parents' basement and exercise.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see the before picture of that.
He had a pot belly, huge
Nerdy
neck
fat
beard.
man.
Just all skinny as shit, just spindly and...
Yeah.
I
So
gotta-
if there was a miscasting, there's a miscasting.
I gotta say, the tagline from this movie should have been "Overkill is not enough."
You know,
well,
you mentioned that there's explosions, but I really, really enjoyed the opening
Sequence.
sequence.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Yeah,
very
they
tense.
robbed the bullet time from Matrix. And
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Besides the fact
Oh.
that
Well, the
that-
conversation
hold
was
on.
very Tarantino.
No, screw the Dog Day Afternoon thing. Yeah, it's Tarantino, but screw Dog Day Afternoon. It's a horrible movie, but the plot is similar to how this movie was.
right.
So that's where I give him credit in that. But the way that they did that bullet time was really, really, really well done.
Yeah.
And I remember I was the only one in the theater who actually was able to say something after that. And all I said was, "Do it again."
Yeah.
Because that was really cool for that time.
Best use of
It
bullet time
was-
since The Matrix.
Yeah.
It was
And the last time it was good.
It was the most complicated visual effects Warner Brothers history at that point.
And
I believe it.
yeah,
I
and it
believe
really,
was amazing.
really showed to the audience, too. That was badass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it shocked so many people, that opening explosion.
Oh, yeah.
Especially since it was like one sweeping shot. There wasn't
Yeah.
there wasn't any cuts in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And then the ball rolling
Yeah.
right up to Hugh Jackman, he sees his face.
reflection,
Yeah.
the reflection in the
It was really
ball
well
bearing.
timed, and then all of a sudden to go back 3 days right at that moment, it was really well thought out
Yeah.
for that type of thing.
And it's funny, even having watched this, of course, it's been many, many years since I watched this movie. In some respects, I forgot the twists and turns in the plots. And it was, seeing the movie the first time, it was almost impossible to stay up with all the twists and turns that this terrorist John Travolta was coming up with. It was incredible.
The best part about that is they explained it the entire time and you never caught on.
Yeah.
Like, he even said what he was doing.
It's like he talked about how Houdini made the elephant disappear in front of the audience.
By misdirection.
Misdirection. And it was like, hey, and that's what the whole thing was. It was all misdirection.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it, and like I said, other than Hugh Jackman.
And that really...
Don Cheadle.
Cheadle.
Great role. Great role.
And one thing that I got to say about the movie that has always bothered me is... And I'm going to sound a little bit like John, but the color spectrum. The grainy, almost kind of dark undertones throughout the film. I believe it takes away from the film to me. Because they're using such good CG in there and everything. You want it to be a little bit more... I don't know, I guess pop,
It's very...
visually.
It's very green.
Yeah, it's kind of greeny, dark.
I guess...
Dark colors.
The only thing I can think of is because at this time they're trying to make, the guy was elite hacker, so, had to have this kind of weird techno babble bullshit, just like the techno soundtrack. But this movie had more bad techno babble than any movie I've seen in a long time. My favorite thing was it has a 128-bit encryption, but you have to bypass the firewall on here, and it's just like, that doesn't actually mean anything. What the hell?
Yeah, man. Yeah, this movie... Yeah,
this is 2001.
There's no way, if you look at this movie on paper, it should work.
Right.
Yeah. Every action scene in it is obligatory. Everything related to an action movie, it was all the obligatory scenes of he doesn't want to do it at first, and then they talk him into it, and then later on there's some shit, and they got his daughter, and then he's got to go after that, and it's
shenanigans.
Shenanigans. It's the usual action movie shenanigans, but they did good on a couple of good things. One, the character of John Travolta, who's sort of the bad guy, ends up from a certain perspective becoming sort of the anti-hero of the movie. And because he doesn't really feel like the bad guy got away. You kind of wanted to see him succeed at a certain point.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's the way they're saying is John Travolta plays an amazing bad guy.
I think this is definitely...
Especially in this film.
This is definitely, I think, a character-driven movie, and it's all driven by Travolta's character, who you love to hate, but he's still, like an amazing character.
Yeah.
Right. This movie got torn the hell apart by the critics too. I think partly because he was coming off of stuff like what's it called, Face Off, and just that kind of dog shit movies that he was doing. I wish I could think of another. I mean, he did like 3 or 4 really terrible movies in a row, and everybody I think felt like this was just another line in that crazy movie. But I don't know, something about it seemed to really work.
I agree with you on that. I think he got really downplayed for this film, and it really is true that he was coming off the back of. Let me pull up some of them. Battlefield Earth 2000.
Oh yeah, the worst.
I mean, the General's Daughter wasn't a great role for him, but it wasn't really a bad one.
I think Battlefield Earth is what almost killed his career.
Battlefield Earth, The General's Daughter actually wasn't
Broken Arrow.
Bad.
That movie was terrible.
It wasn't bad. It didn't go.
It wasn't great.
It was the Broken Arrow was entertaining. It was a lot better than Battlefield Earth, but not by much.
Yeah, Broken Arrow was entertaining because oh man, I don't know. Look, as soon as he gets away from John Woo, everything becomes better.
Yeah, but I agree with John. Battlefield Earth was almost the end of his career. When I saw it, I thought it really did end his career.
Because that movie was made, and they didn't know that they were making a comedy.
Yeah.
I don't even think
nothing like making an accidental comedy. Huh?
I don't think you could be stoned and find this movie good.
Oh man, and they were taking it so
Battlefield.
Bad. This movie.
Yeah. Well, I love.
Really?
I love the scene. I love the scene with the British TVR.
Have we switched movies?
No, Swordfish.
Oh, okay, we're
The
back.
scene,
Sorry.
The scene with the British TVR with the and they had those Suburbans come up side by side, where he randomly has enough time to walk out of his car, open his trunk, and assemble like a squad automatic weapon, have time to load it and fire, and somehow they still didn't kill him.
I was just more amazed by the fact that everybody on the street was just kind of like, there they go again. You know, I mean, literally,
That's
if
normal.
you look
It's
at the
LA,
bystanders
right?
and the vehicles around, like
Happens.
nobody really gets out of the way.
Why do you think Ryan's got a job?
You know,
It really happens.
he just picks up dead midgets.
I'm not a coroner.
Oh, by the way, I love Vinnie Jones's role in this movie. Even though it
Yeah.
was smaller, I wish it was bigger. I really loved his character in this movie.
You know, the other guy that was really misrolled, as far as I was concerned, was Sam Shepard's role as a senator. I thought that was the worst acting he has ever done in his career.
I love how he ended, though. What are you going to do with that? Pap!
Yeah, I mean, but really.
It's like, really? The guy's pointing a gun at you.
I thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
I really thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
You know, and it totally overacted. I would have thought this guy had never had a movie career in his life at all, as bad as he acted in this movie.
On the other hand,
I mean-
I actually thought he acted like a senator.
You know, the one that always kind of seemed a little thrown in there, and basically the only thing that really he did was just basically kind of a British bad guy is Vinnie Jones. I mean, really?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he
But
did
John liked
so
him.
great with Guy Ritchie films, but in this one, I just kind of felt that he
wasn't
playing the
used
same
right.
character and just
Yeah.
tossed in there. Okay,
Yeah, it was.
be a tough British bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, that's what he's good at. You know, when you see that character, what you're in for.
Yeah.
The thing that really elevated this movie, though, was Don Cheadle and Halle Berry.
Yes.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
That
Except
turned it
for-
into like a good old fashioned Bond movie kind of feel. You know.
Yeah, but I really don't like her playing this kind of whorish, I'm a good little girl, but I'm a whore character.
Like Catwoman.
And that's pretty much what she played in this one. And then you try to find out that, she's supposedly DA, which she turns out
DA,
not to
and
be.
she's
But,
not
you know,
DA,
it's
and
like,
right. But you didn't know
there's-
that until the end. And,
Yeah, but she really had, other than kind of a little bit of a motivator, she really had no other purpose in the film.
No,
No,
not
she-
really.
well,
And,
her-
and you know,
yeah.
the movie takes a couple of leaps as far as
And then here's my
like
tits.
Rob brought up.
Give me
a
half
couple
a
of
mil.
twists and turns.
Well, I mean, her role's kind of like, I think, the suitcase in Pulp Fiction. It's really there just to drive the film and add more misdirection.
Or just to tie everything together. It seemed like.
I guess.
Because her character didn't really have any depth. There was no development of her character.
No, not really.
She just got the brunt of everything, including being hanged at the end. And even then, I was like, oh my God, they're hanging a black person. I'm surprised more people weren't pissed at that.
No,
Wow.
Don Cheadle was
See,
in
you
there.
know what? I didn't even
I
fucking
didn't even
think
think
of that.
about that either. Oh my goodness.
Well,
Okay.
who's the little white guy in the room?
All right. So moving along on that one.
Oh,
your
Direct
son,
all your
Rob.
hate mail to me, and I'll respond.
well, no, I'm just surprised they do it just because of all this, that just surprised me.
Well, it was 2001, John. We could still do things like that. And we weren't so PC then.
We could still do things like that.
But
Address all your
yeah,
hate mail to Real Flicks
Me.
Reviews.
Address it to me, I'll respond. I will be
yeah,
glad
just
to.
James. He's
Come on,
I was
come
gonna
on.
say-
he's a
I
good
dare
guy.
you.
I was going to say Sam Shepard's role, I really think it was more just to cover the basis of why John Travolta's character was doing anything.
You know, anybody could have played that role. They didn't need Sam Shepard to do
Yeah.
and he did a poor acting job as far as
I
I'm
actually
concerned.
thought he acted like a crooked senator, which is
Yeah.
being overacted, and and I don't think
Gary Busey was initially going to be the senator.
Really?
Oh, that would have been
Really?
perfect.
Yep.
Him with
Yep.
those giant chiclets they call teeth.
Can you imagine? I think he would have done a better job.
They would
And
have
I
had-
don't care for the guy a whole hell of a lot.
They would have had to pay him in coke.
But no, for me, I really had a good time with the movie. This is one of those movies I consider fun, with the twists and the turns and the explosions and the guns and John and I had a little fun trying to identify some of the guns that were actually used in
Did
the
you have
movie,
fun?
the real guns, and yeah, so we looked those up, and that was kind of neat. And so there was a whole bunch of things that was just fun for me.
I got to say, there's one thing I was going to tell you about when we
must
looked
be
at this.
sick.
I found out a website called International Movie Firearm Database,
Oh,
and
yeah,
it
you
lists
told me
a
about that.
great deal of weapons used in movies. It's a great way to see if the people are full of crap, because the people on that website are very, very good and picking up
Well,
guns.
most of the time they are full of crap on the film.
Right. I got to say, though, the few things...
There's some good companies handling those.
I got to say, though, on this movie, I don't remember it feeling as aged, because I've seen it a bunch of times since like theaters, and the thing that really aged it were the computers, the cell phones, the monitoring room used by the FBI.
Well, have you seen Hackers lately? Wow.
Oh, yeah. You want to really date something?
Man. We are watching War Games, man. Check out old school floppy
come on. It's Johnny Lee Miller and Angelina Jolie.
Right. And you know what? And I think you pointed out, Jonathan, probably one of the problems with any kind of movie that goes far back that's supposedly high-tech, it doesn't hold up very well as you start going, a decade and you start getting further out. Because technology changes so quickly and so fast.
You want to know the one thing that I noticed is they did it in Hackers and they did it in this movie is when they load up the computer, when Hugh Jackman's character was going into that computer to find the worm, you notice how they had this really weird kind of trippy interface? Nowadays, they actually show command prompt. They actually... that was the one thing I noticed is nowadays they're a little more honest some ways.
Yeah.
Well,
a little more research is done as opposed to just winging it.
Yeah,
I think they pounding on a keyboard and assuming that you're hacking.
They wanted to wow the audience. This guy was a great hacker and all that. And in the notes, the details, it was really funny. They even brought up how that the oct numbers on the IPs were completely wrong. And instead of the 255.255.255.0 through 250, they went into the 300s, which doesn't exist. So even today, it doesn't exist. So
anyway. I thought some of the computer stuff was good, but some of it was really like jargony, like just to make sound like the movie. Like in 2001, it was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. But now you're watching it going, wow, they just lied to me.
So.
Yeah. There's a lot of that, but
when I watch a movie like this, I just assume that when they're throwing all that stuff out, you're full of shit.
Yeah,
literally. You can pick out bits and pieces that can be the truth.
Sure,
but when they start,
but who cares?
Jumbling it all together, you just have to assume they're full of shit and enjoy the movie.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah, and look, bottom line, this is a fun action movie, and it was coming off the tails of the 90s, which was just full of good action movies. The Matrix was 2 years before this, which wasn't very long. People had just barely started to use this whole bullet time technology thing and add a lot of computer-generated graphics to their movies. But it was still so infantile that you still had to blow some shit up. You know what I mean? So action movies from the 90s still hold up because it looks really tactile. It looks like the shit actually happened.
Yeah.
Because I still think it was because of the time in the 80s that it was just a good time with explosions instead of trying to make something an action movie generally.
Well, the 80s was the 90s movies, except too much Dayglow.
Well, the thing that I gotta say about this movie that always kind of baffled me was the proficiency that Hugh Jackman's character had with a rocket launcher.
Right?
How about that?
That was actually in my notes.
Really impressive that he just kind of like pops out. Oh, I'm really good at the computer. Maybe if I
it's from all those game playing he did.
I guess so.
I put that in my notes. Computer hacker who's in good shape, who somehow manages to remember there's a rocket launcher in the back of the bus.
And he knows how to load an armament and shoot it.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was already loaded.
Well, you play enough video games, Rob.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure I could tell you how to load an RPG or a rocket launcher.
Because Vinnie Jones asked that one guy.
You can't. It's more complicated than you think.
So anybody out there in internet land, if you have an RPG that RealFlix Reviews can borrow,
we'd like to review it. And you find a helicopter for us to shoot at.
With ammunition, please.
Exactly. If you want to see how bad Ryan Preston can do it, we'll totally, watch.
Just give me 3 shots, too. I want to play.
Yeah, you want more than one.
Yeah, I want at least one.
It should have been at least a Laws instead of an RPG. Would have been better.
So, jeez.
I'll get too technical.
Yeah. Wow. So, what do you give it, Rob?
No, I'm going to give it a 4. Just because it's pure fun. It's not a 5 quality movie. This one's a scale of 4 for me because it's fun and I enjoy it. And I could sit here and talk for a half an hour about the movie.
Ryan, you're up.
3. This is a middle of the road. good action movie. You know what I mean? It's sort of what I kind of expect. I could sit here and punch holes in the plot.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And things like that. But a bunch of things. Like I said, it shouldn't have worked, but a few things elevated it, such as the presence of Don Cheadle and a good John Travolta. So yeah, 3.
James?
I agree. 3. I mean, there's some fun things with it, but it's just one of those that there's too many holes in it for me to get overly excited about. There's a couple things that I think are a little bit off, like I mentioned Halle Berry's character, that I can't go any farther than that, but I can't take it away because there is a lot of, as Rob said, fun things about this movie. And I mean, literally, if the movie had held up to its first opening 3 minutes, I mean, this movie would probably be a 5 because that was just out of this world,
right,
for its time.
Or they spent all that. They spent all the money, and so on the 3 minutes they couldn't finish the movie.
On that one scene.
And that's right. You may be right. They did spend a ton.
They had a lot of shit. They blew a lot of shit up. They had the chopper. In the bus, that's complicated.
And not to mention a bunch of cars in that scene.
I mean, the budget was $80 million. That's not exactly a couple of pennies.
And 2001, that's not
a lot
chump
of money.
change, man.
So I agree with everybody. I give this a 3. I mean, there's some things that age this movie, but it's just a boatload of fun. And my favorite part in this movie is those explosive vests with the dog collars.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was cool. Good,
even the gun handling in this movie was pretty good, which is which is still surprising for that era movie.
I don't know. I still got to say, Hugh Jackman popping out of that bus with that RPG, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere near it.
Well, at least he knew what end to point first. So
that's true.
So it's definitely a 3 to 5 for me.
Like Ryan said, it's all the video game playing he did. He just knew what to do.
But back then they were all pixelated, so so how do you know it was a rocket launcher?
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
So now's the section of.
Did Ryan give his number?
Yeah, 3.
3.
Oh, 3, 4.
I
Okay.
stumbled across this one. Do you know John Travolta turned down the part of Gabriel a total of 6 times before he changed his mind?
Well,
thank God he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Don't forget how hard they worked to get Halle Berry to show her
Yeah,
breasts.
that's true too.
I mean, they had to pay
Yeah,
her
really, an extra $500,000 on top of an already $2 million coin purse for that one.
Yeah, just to do that. And she says, when you read her notes, which I thought was kind of humorous, she wanted to get over her fear of being nude in the movies.
Yeah,
that's what What for $500,000?
Yeah, $500,000, man.
I want nude through the whole movie. I would.
Make sure I don't ever see that.
It's not a
Make sure
it's not
you
a
get
picture
your
you want to
$2
see,
million
but
coin
I'm
purse
just
first.
telling.
Exactly.
I'm just saying,
Oof. So
I love the scene in the movie too because it was just like, yep, look, here it is, guys. Yep.
There's my boobs.
There they are.
Yeah, there was no point to it. It was just like, look, we paid her $500,000. We're going to get her to just drop this thing, and there it is.
Yeah. There's my boobs.
So the next section of the show is the movie news. Since I picked this for the old guy, the first movie news I found was, ever heard of Terminator Genesis?
Yes.
Ryan?
Is that a thing that exists already?
Basically it's a reboot of the Terminator series, and it's supposed to somehow bounce around between the timeline of the first film and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Looks like they're leaving out the other ones.
Yeah, but they have Arnold already cast for it.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I think we talked about this last week.
Explain this old robot. They're just going to reboot it and be like, oh, this is what he's always looked like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, forget about all the rest.
Way to really do it.
It's
Don't worry about his saggy
grandpa
arms.
bad guy.
And the other one was probably the saddest news I've heard in a long, long time about a Marvel movie. Guess who everybody's favorite actor might be playing Doctor Strange?
Go for it.
Johnny Depp.
What?
I'm surprisingly cool with that.
I'm not sure yet. He's
I'm kind of cool with that. I mean,
I like
not directing this movie, right?
I had my heart set on Daniel Day-Lewis.
I'll be completely.
Oh, see now you're reaching too far.
I want Daniel Day-Lewis.
I'll be completely surprised that they're going to Johnny Depp, considering how much money he cost them in the last movie he is in, which was the was that Lone Ranger. That movie was an epic flop with a huge budget.
But it wasn't that movie
Yeah,
almost
huge
designed to
budget,
be a
didn't do
flop
much.
from the get-go? I mean, it was supposed to be like direct to DVD. I never heard one good thing about the movie through production, through casting, through anything.
Well, my problem is Johnny Depp plays the same character in every movie now.
You know, I
Yeah.
can say, you know, I'm
Captain
kind of,
Jack.
I'm kind of with
much.
Ryan on this. There's a lot of potential in Depp to do a good job,
As long as he doesn't act like he normally does.
but I have my heart set on Daniel Day-Lewis.
See, I just don't think Johnny.
I mean, you're reaching for the stars on that one, man.
I just don't
They're
think.
stars. They're movie
I
stars.
honestly don't
But I'm
think
saying,
Johnny
dude,
Depp.
Daniel Day-Lewis left acting so he can make shoes. Okay,
I honestly don't think
he's
Johnny
not going to
Depp.
come back to do Doctor Strange.
Come on.
I don't think Johnny Depp has a screen presence, honestly, for that character. He's the sorcerer supreme. You know, he's the ultimate sorcerer throughout the galaxy. I just don't think he has
I mean,
the
as
presence
long
of film and screen presence to play
As
that
long as
character.
he doesn't do it as goofy as he's been doing the past few roles.
That's what I'm saying.
He
As
will.
long as Tim Burton is nowhere near this, then we're okay.
Oh, he'll still act goofy. I really do. Most of his roles since the Sparrow time he's been this really quasi, tweaked out character. So I really do think he's gonna be similar.
I don't know. He didn't do too bad in Dark Shadows.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm kind of anti-Depp at the moment.
And Rum Diaries, he did a good job.
So sounds like you think he could actually do good at this character.
I think he has the potential. I said potential. It does not mean that he can do it, that he's going to do it. He has the potential to do it.
So on the article I read,
But I want Daniel Day-Lewis.
well, that's not going to happen. So the funniest thing in this
Yeah,
article,
you can pay his bill.
No.
the funniest thing is it said,
Can I pay it in pennies?
Yeah.
the funniest thing is Johnny Depp reportedly meeting with Marvel discuss potential of him becoming Doctor Strange. It is the type of casting that fans dream of.
No.
I'm a fan of Doctor Strange, and I'm not dreaming of Johnny Depp.
No, who was the other guy that they had for that they rumored it was supposed to be? It was Daniel Day-Lewis and another guy, and I can't think of his name right now.
The interesting thing is it sounds like he's supposed to be like the new Iron Man, since I guess after Iron Man 3, I guess he won't be such a major character.
You know, I gotta say this though, is that it's kind of crap that if they're trying to say it that way, because there are not that many Doctor Strange fans that really know a lot about his character and the role that he's got, and even his background. I mean, he's only made like a handful of appearances in any of the comics, and he's only been a side character in like kind of like their little story. I mean, through Spider-Man.
You'd have to really love his comic books, which is a lot of.
Yeah.
But they're a little out there.
Yeah, they're
All
out
right,
there,
then
but and
then
there's not a
Vin
lot.
Diesel should play the character.
No, what?
Anyway, moving along. I mean, he hasn't had a show like Iron Man, Spider-Man, Hulk.
Okay, so question. Who do you think, besides Daniel Day-Lewis, which is probably very rare, anybody else you could think of that would play a good character?
No, because they're all shit.
See, I actually think it should be a no-name actor.
I
Somebody
agree with
fresh.
that, but I mean,
I mean, obviously, because it's such a big character, you almost need a no-name actor so he can disappear into the role. I mean, obviously, it's going to be hard to look past just Johnny Depp being some version of Johnny Depp.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from somebody like Daniel Day-Lewis, I don't know. I think we might be asking too much.
But I think, Ryan, there's a point there is the fact that the reason why Robert Downey Jr. did such a good role in Iron Man, he's practically Tony Stark besides the genius.
Right.
So I think if you could find... that's why I think a no-name actor is somebody who really, like Ryan said, blends into the character.
Just looking at some new movies coming up. Yeah, it's kind of a... Yeah.
So Ryan,
Sorry,
is there anybody you
Rob
think...
and I are moving along.
Yeah, we're already looking at other movies.
So Ryan, is there anybody who you think would play a good role in that one?
I've said my piece.
Man, off the top of my head, I don't know, maybe like Josh Brolin.
It was an interesting
Josh
choice.
Brolin? Really?
I was literally off the top of my head, and it's
Okay.
actually not a bad choice.
Yeah, actually, it's not.
So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you do us a favor and check out our Facebook page. Is there a movie you'd like us to do, or even a theme you'd like us to do for the month? just drop by, tell us a line. You can tell us we suck. We might even read you and ridicule you on air. Most likely we will. So let's stop by. Say hi, please.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And next week's movie, we decided, is 3 Days to Kill in the theaters with Kevin Costner. Looks like an interesting movie, so...
We'll find out, won't we?
Apparently he's not a fan already.
No.
It's
but
not,
I'll watch it and I'll...
It's not a... It's a
You can't.
And I will give a good opinion.
You
It's not a
can't go
3-hour
into
movie.
the movie already deciding it's crap.
yes,
I
we
didn't
can. We're
decide
movie
it's
reviewers.
I just said it's not one that I'm on.
So,
Go into the movie
ladies and
being
gentlemen...
excited. Then you could be
yeah.
disappointed.
Damn it, why am I so far from the board to mute him? Ladies and gentlemen, I gave the movie Swordfish a 3 out of 5. James gave it a 3 out of 5. Ryan gave it a 3 out of 5. And the old guy who I picked the movie for gave it a 4 out of 5.
That's
Next
good.
week's movie is 3 Days to Kill with Kevin Costner, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.